The Department of Homeland Security's refusal to release the records of Prince Harry is absolutely outrageous. It is an unacceptable decision, really, in response to our Freedom of Information request. The American public has the right to know what is in Prince Harry's immigration records. He is a huge public figure in the United States, a household name here. He's actively engaged on a number of causes in the US. And there are major questions to be asked with regard to whether or not Prince Harry was honest in relation to his revelations of extensive drug taking in his memoir Spare, but also in a series of interviews that he has given. Also, I think there's a clear public interest in knowing whether or not Prince Harry received any kind of preferential treatment from US authorities with regard to his visa application. And so we have called upon the Biden administration to release Prince Harry's immigration records in the public interest, but the Department of Homeland Security is stonewalling this request and refusing to release the documents. Well, this is an ongoing legal case, and ultimately the issue will be decided in federal court by a federal judge. So we expect there will be further hearings with regard to the Prince Harry immigration records issue. We have sued the Department of Homeland Security for the release of Prince Harry's documents. We will continue to fight in court over this, and a federal judge will issue ultimately a decision on the release of the records. We are confident that we can win this case. We will be fighting for the release of those documents because we believe that it is in the public interest for the release of Prince Harry's immigration records. And so this will be a matter that will be decided by a federal judge in a federal court. Well, Prince Harry is a huge public figure in the United States, and he has been actively involved on a number of causes and issues in the US. He has delivered a large number of media interviews, including very prominent interviews with Oprah Winfrey, also an extensive Netflix documentary series. And so he is a public figure in the United States, and there is, I think, a public interest in ensuring that US immigration law is enforced fairly and equally without fear or favor. And certainly many Americans are questioning whether or not Harry was honest with regard to his visa application. A Newsweek poll that was released recently showed that over half of Americans want to see Prince Harry's immigration records reviewed. There is a lot of concern in the United States with regard to Harry's application and whether or not he was completely honest with regard to his answers. After all, if an applicant is dishonest on an immigration application, that amounts to perjury. That's a criminal offense in the United States. It's a very serious matter. So the stakes are very high, certainly for Prince Harry. And if Prince Harry has nothing to hide, he should be fully supporting the release of his immigration records. And there is a fundamental lack of transparency and accountability on the part of the Biden administration on this issue. And we are calling for openness and transparency from US authorities on a matter of public interest here. Of course, what happens next, of course, is a matter for US officials to decide once the contents of Prince Harry's immigration records are released. But our goal is to see these documents released for the public to be able to see exactly what is there. And it is important that the American public can have faith in the US immigration system. And it is vital that US immigration law is applied robustly, fairly, and effectively. And this is, at the end of the day, what this case is all about. The United States is a nation based upon the rule of law, and we want to ensure that the rule of law is applied effectively in immigration matters. We will only know whether or not Harry lied or whether he was given some kind of preferential treatment once those records are released. So at the moment, everything is shrouded in secrecy because the Biden administration refuses to release Prince Harry's records. Once those records are released, then the American public can can clearly see the contents of those records, and we can establish whether or not Harry lied, whether he was dishonest, whether he broke the law, and whether he received some kind of special favor or preferential treatment by U.S. immigration authorities and by U.S. political leaders. Well, we're fighting to win this case, and we already had the first hearing in federal court 2 weeks ago, where the federal judge treated this issue very, very seriously. It was a 75-minute hearing. Both sides put forward their arguments, and the judge stated that the Department of Homeland Security had just 7 days to declare whether or not it would release the documents. DHS has responded, and the judge made it clear that ultimately he would make a ruling on the release of the documents. And we believe that our case is very, very strong here, because there is a very strong, overwhelming public interest in the release of the documents. Prince Harry is a public figure who has spoken extensively about his drug use, and we do believe that US authorities should be held to account with regard to whatever decision they made over the decision to give a visa to Prince Harry. So we believe that we can win this case in federal court.